Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the first ever edition of After Hours, a podcast presented by Afternoon Analytics. My name is Austin Streitmatter. I'm joined today by Ryan Hain. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Love to hear it. I'm great. I'm also joined by Ryan Hernan. Ryan, how are you?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Great. I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get this show on the road.
All right. So, since this is our first episode, I'm going to start with a little rundown of our segments. We have 6 segments that we're going to go through here. The first one is called Blazing Start, where each of us will offer a hot take that has been on our mind in the recent sports world, just to kind of start off fast and get these hot takes off our chest. Then we'll move into the High Five, which is 5 questions that are current in the sports world, kind of the big part of our show. We then move into Stat or Cap, where one of us, it will be the stat master. This week it'll be Austin. They will pose sports stats to the other two that are either real, which is stat, or fake, which is cap. And the other two will have to guess, and we'll keep a running tally to see how much we know or don't know sports stats. And then it'll move into a few just general sports trivia questions as well. Then we have quick questions, which are 8 questions that will move through rapid fire concerning the sports world currently, and maybe just a little more fun questions as well. Then we close out the show with our last 2 segments, One Big Thing, where we each talk about something from the past week in the sports world that's on our mind, something we want to highlight, we want to discuss a little bit. And then we move into Hear Me Out, where we look into the future of the sports world and each offer a prediction about something that will happen that we can also look back on and see if we were right or if we were terribly, terribly wrong. So without further ado, we're going to get into our first segment here, Blazing Start. And Austin, I'm going to go to you first. What is your hot take?
I love it. My hot take is that the four major sports in America, so your NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB, should adopt the point system like the Premier League and the NHL sort of also has in the way that they do their standing systems. So that way, when the playoffs comes, instead of just wins or losses, you have more of an effect of who is the best team above all, and your standings work like that. I think that you look at all the sports today, the NHL probably has one of the best playoffs, and it's due to this really strong way that they rank teams. And I think the NFL, the NBA, and the MLB can all take a page out of that book, as well as the Premier League, to make the regular season more meaningful to every team.
So if you're talking about points, I know that the NHL does points
hmm
for overtime losses. So are you saying that the NFL or the NBA should give out like a point for like 2 points for a win, 1 point for an overtime loss?
I am saying that. I think overtime losses shouldn't be weighed as heavy as an actual loss. Call me controversial, but that's my belief on that.
Well, I don't think the
Participation
NFL.
trophy.
I'll
I
be
don't think the
quiet.
NFL overtime is. No one's too big a fan of that. So maybe
No,
if you're losing in overtime could be good.
I agree.
All
Ryan, what do
right.
you have?
Um. So, watching Russell Westbrook this past season, I was just I don't know. I didn't know how to take that in. This was the MVP of the 16-17 season. Obviously with like the Thunder, and now with that big trade with Washington to the Lakers. Some people are expecting big things. I don't know what I was expecting, but not what happened. Um, Ryan was telling me the other day that he was watching a Russell Westbrook worst moments video. It was like 15 minutes long or something,
Oh God.
and quickly, like halfway through, he realized that um, the worst moments were just from this season.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Wow.
And okay, basically my whole point with this is that Russell Westbrook, if he doesn't change his game from what it used to be, um, I think he's going to be out of the league in by next season once his contract
Next
is up.
season?
After next season.
That is hot.
Holy cats.
Like
Just out
what
and gone?
team would offer him anything?
Fair. I agree.
I mean, I don't think that he's. You think he's got nothing left to give to the NBA?
I I could see it. I would sign him, but I mean, obviously being a different role than like the starting caliber role that he's playing now, and like I wouldn't want him taking 20 shots a game if he's gonna miss 17 of them. Um, and he's not as explosive as he once was. So like I sort of understand what Ryan's saying, but to be out of the league in 2 years, I think it's crazy. But I guess
think
that's why this segment's called Blazing Hot.
Sorry, I'm
Uh,
back. I just like what does he add to a team with his current mindset of just like he thinks he's the best player?
I mean, I think he's. I think you're not giving him enough credit. I think he's a little more self-aware than that.
I
yeah,
don't think he is. If you like followed the press conferences, he would
He's
just blame the
confident in
media
himself.
for like calling him Westbrook. Like
Well,
stop bricking shots. Like
he's confident in himself. He certainly plays with a passion that lends itself well to him when he's
but
playing
trust me,
well.
I do
Hot
like when he's
is
on, I like watching him play. But
it,
he's just not been on in a long time.
it has been
that's
rough this year.
true. That's true.
So it sounds like, Ryan, that you're saying that you are not a fan of the Lakers' moves that they've made this offseason, that they're of their roster construction. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is it's part of what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay, I find that interesting because I have
Dude,
I
yeah, I
have a
was gonna
couple
say.
hot takes. I know that this is supposed to be one, but I have two things I want to bring up, and one is going to jump off of Ryan's here. And I think the Lakers need to give LeBron James more power.
What?
I think I don't know if you listen to the recent Kyrie Irving quote from a podcast he was on, where he said that the lay GM nickname that LeBron has about him being the de facto GM for these teams has some truth to it, and that he basically put together these teams in Cleveland that he was on. And what do those teams in Cleveland do? They made 4 straight finals and they won a ring. Now LeBron's in LA. He's making moves. What happens? They win a ring. This past season didn't go as
It's a
well.
Mickey Mouse ring.
It was a ring though. They won a championship, and now obviously this current team is a disaster. I was a fan of like some of these moves, like the Malik Monk move and the Kendrick Nunn move. And like speaking of which, where has anyone seen Kendrick Nunn? Where is Kendrick Nunn? I don't know, but like I this Lakers team disappointed me, and I'm pinning it down to the fact that they didn't give LeBron enough power. I think he
Well,
had some
okay. Small counterpoint. What? Who was responsible for the Westbrook trade?
well, it may have been LeBron James, but he missed one time. He missed one time.
I feel like in this position, he's had to have missed more than once.
When
I think that they were holding. I think the Lakers brass
No, this blazing
holding him
start.
back.
I understand. It's a
Yeah,
hot
yeah,
take.
yeah. All I'm saying, I'm gonna move past this one so I can get into my next one. But all I'm saying is, if you're listening, Genie Bus, Rob Palinka, let LeBron do his thing. Like, give him the keys to the organization this offseason. See where he takes you. My second take, I think, will be a little less controversial. It's not much of a hot take, but it is something that I feel strongly about. And in the light of the recent All NBA teams, where Joel Embiid found himself on the second team All NBA, I think the NBA needs to get rid of positions on the All NBA team. There have been 2 times in history where a player has finished top 2 in MVP voting and been second team All NBA, and that was last season and this season, and they were both Joel Embiid because he was behind Nikola Jokic because there's only one center position, which I think is just ridiculous, especially in today's NBA where positionless basketball positions don't matter as much. I think the NBA needs to just get rid of positions and just put the best 5 players in the first team, then the second team, then the third team. That's my take.
I agree with that. I'll
It's a
back
good
you up
take.
on that one. I
Thank
won't
you.
back you up on the Lakers need to give LeBron more power take, but
The
I'll back you up
GM.
on this one. So
Hey, he's clearly he knows a lot about basketball. He's a smart guy. I
yeah,
trust him.
he's a smart guy, but
Did you
like,
see Space Jam? He
no, I
he put
haven't
together
seen
a
Space
great team
Jam
in
2
Space
yet.
Jam.
Oh my gosh. When you look at the Warriors have been able, I'm sorry, we'll move on to this. I just gotta say my piece here. When you look at the Warriors making the finals in 6 out of 8 years, that's due to sustainability and some draft picks. And obviously, every team can't do that. They've had some luck. There's some great videos on that. But when you look at the Heat after LeBron left, the Cavs after LeBron left, they sucked for 3 years. And like, if I'm the Lakers, I sucked for 4 years when they had nobody and they were starting a bunch of players who you do when you trade all your stars for picks in NBA 2K in your GM mode. And they come to now and they get LeBron, they win a title. Like, yeah, you want to win more, but at some point, you have to balance winning now and winning for the future. And they're trading on their draft picks. They were talking about how people want a draft pick to take on Westbrook's salary, and they have to give a 27 or a 29. That's like beyond crazy to me that we're trading draft picks 6 or 7 years in the future. And like, you look at Brooklyn when they traded for Garnett and Pierce and Jason Terry and how tremendously well that went. I just I don't I don't think they should do it.
I just want to say, if LeBron was in control of that Brooklyn team, they never would have made that move.
I agree, but I just whatever. I could talk for a long time about this.
I
Let's move
see.
on.
I see. You make good points, though. You make good points.
Let's next
Wait,
segment.
can I put my stamp on this and then we'll
Oh
be
my
done?
gosh, yeah.
Okay, it'll be quick. It'll be quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I don't understand about like no one's talking about for this Lakers team. Where has Anthony Day to Day Davis been? Like no one is talking about him. Like 2 years ago, this guy was a talked about like a consensus top 10 player, and he was. I know he was hurt, but like
You just wanted to say that nickname.
I
I know.
did, but
I know.
I like do
Expose him. Expose him.
I do agree with it though. Like
He has been a disappointment, though. He has gone from All NBA to
to Anthony Day to Day
yeah,
Davis.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, I think we got pretty hot there. I think we can save some of that heat for next week too.
Okay, yeah.
Ryan, you want to take
Oh
us into
yeah.
the
Sorry.
next segment?
So our next segment is the high five, where we dive deep or kind of deep into 5 questions. And the first question is, with this recent public outburst from Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, whose side are you on with the NAL deals and just the whole situation?
Uh,
Uh, I'll
Oh,
start. I'll
okay.
start. I'll start. Yeah.
Sorry.
Normally when you do something like this, you either have a set plan or you're host of the segment intro someone, but we're new here.
All right,
Um,
Austin, let's hear your thoughts.
hey, thanks, bro. I really appreciate that. I am on the side of Jimmo Fisher in this debate. I think that Nick Saban is number one. I don't think Nick Saban should have made a comment because Nick Saban doesn't really have to answer to anyone at this point. He is the Bill Belichick, the Jack Nicholas, the Vince Lombardi, whatever you want to call it, of like college football coaches. Why, unless you're scared, which I don't think he is, like, why are you worried about this? And then for that matter, like, you're coming off a year where you didn't win the national championship, you didn't win the SEC championship. Like,
They
you
didn't
got
beat Texas A&M.
didn't
they
even
didn't beat
beat Texas
Texas
A&M.
A&M. Like,
Yeah.
dog, you got bigger fish to fry. And like, when it comes to stuff like this, Saban doesn't know the inner workings of Jimbo's recruiting system or how it went, and so like I get why he'd say it, but that's something that you use internally to fuel your fire, not yell out at Jimbo Fisher, who you know for a fact is taking zero crap from Nick Saban, especially when he beat him last year. and it's just a firecracker waiting to go off. So I'm on Jimbo's side in this. If you don't know the inner workings of my program, don't talk about it. Keep it to yourself. So that's my take. Ryan, what you got?
Which Ryan?
I'm also on Jimbo's side.
Hernan.
I mean, I think you said most of what I wanted to say. I mean, I'm generally in favor of the NIL system. I am in favor of these athletes getting compensation for what they do. They put in a lot of hard work. Obviously, the NIL system isn't a perfect system, but anything that the NCAA puts out is not going to be a perfect system.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think teams like Texas A&M that have big money boosters and cash to throw around are going to benefit from this. But it's Nick Saban. You're the coach of Alabama. Like, it's not like you don't have resources. Also, it's not like he's calling out not only Jimbo Fisher, but he's calling out Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Like, why are you just the coach of Alabama complaining about Jackson State's program? And like
Mm-hmm.
Deion Sanders said, and like you said, Austin, don't get up there and call a man out in a press conference because you don't like something he may or may not be doing that he's probably not doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was out of character for Nick Saban to publicly complain about something like that, and it was definitely the wrong move to make that public. And my favorite thing to come out of this was Jimbo Fisher's response to Nick Saban, where he made it clear that there is no love lost between the two, and that he does not have a lot of respect or care to be associated with Nick Saban. So I'm excited to see this game next year and see how this plays out on the field.
It's gonna be a good
Yeah, I
game.
think y'all pretty much covered most of it. And I think just another small thing to bring up is even if Nick Saban or Alabama themselves isn't directly involved in like Bryce Young has $1 million in NIL deals. Like all these Alabama players are getting deals. Like it's so secret. Like maybe Nick Saban doesn't have his hands on it, like he's accusing Jimbo Fisher of, but like it's still happening. Like it's still happening at his program.
Right. It's not like
So I
he's the
just
coach of
don't
Penn
understand
Lane.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think one thing that got completely overlooked in this whole Jimbo and Nick Saban debate is I don't know if y'all saw it, but I think it was either Cardell Jones or JT Barrett started this foundation at Ohio State where basically it's like sort of a cover but like more legally sound for boosters to donate money to the foundation that then the foundation like provides things for players, but because you're giving to a foundation it's considered a charity and so it's a tax write-off. And so like the players go do like an autograph signing, like an appearance for the foundation that is being funded by boosters that are then getting a tax write off for it. And if there's anything in this sport that if I was Nick Saban I'd be more upset about, like that is crazy that we have a system where we can do that, where like people get a tax write off for giving money to players who go to their school when like 3 years ago that would have gotten you suspended for 5 years from playoffs or bowl games.
I would just like to make one point. I agree with what you're saying. I do think that part of it is wrong, and I think Nick Saban should obviously be more concerned about that. But I would also like to note that this is Austin Streitmatter, Indiana Hoosier fan, and noted Ohio State hater. So
I'm just saying, man.
I
Like,
know I'm just messing with you,
no,
but
I know you are, but like
I think we're
it,
all Ohio State haters.
I
it's
agree.
true.
Let's lay that on the table. Okay.
Like,
That's true. That's
like
true.
Ohio State is not some no-name school. Like they've competed in the playoff. I think they're like the fourth most, fifth most. Like they won it the first year. They're not some no-name school, and they're doing this. I think in my mind, Ohio State is a bigger threat to the Nick Saban crown of dominance than Texas A&M is, and it's not even close.
The only thing is Ohio State is not competing for a lot of the same players that A&M and
That's
Alabama are.
that's true. I'll give you that.
That's where his anger comes from
Oh,
because A&M is stealing players that are usually going to Alabama.
that's
But at
fair.
the end of the day, Saban's got to adapt, And
Yeah,
like you said, he's on the Mount Rushmore of coaches, so he should be able to adapt and not
yeah,
you know complain at press conferences.
yeah. I agree.
All right, let's move on to our next question. What or who has been the biggest surprise of the MLB season so far? I can start this one off.
Go ahead.
Um, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Mets. Um, I don't like the Mets, but they have like I knew they'd be good, but they're like actually kind of like good, you know?
They're
And
not.
it's
They're
really
not Mets
scary.
good.
Like it's I mean, they don't I mean they had Scherzer for um up until like last week. And like players like Tyler McGill have like really stepped up in the pitching staff. Their offense has been like pretty good. Like well
Alonso,
above what it has been. And
yeah,
yeah, like Alonso's been
Alonso's
amazing.
playing well. Marte is playing
Yeah.
well enough.
Yeah.
Or
And this this is the Mets, so like there's part of me in the back of my head where I'm just thinking like I mean they're gonna fall back to earth. They have like a brutal June. A brutal June. Like they go out west and play like the Padres, Dodgers, then they like play the Astros in two series and just
They just had to
we'll
run
see.
the Jock Peterson gauntlet.
Yes, that is true.
Didn't go so well for them.
But yeah, I mean they've been my biggest surprise so far. Just like how good they've just felt, like just the eye test.
Yeah.
And the numbers back it up too. All right, Austin, you want to go next?
sure. Uh, so my biggest surprise is Anthony Rizzo, and as a family who half of my dad's side of the family is big Cubs fans, when the Cubs decided to sell everyone, it was a sad day. Um, but it's sort of been great to see Anthony Rizzo have this not resurgence, but more of delaying of the fall off, one might say, as a lot of Yankees fans were sort of impartial to the signing and thought, why are we doing this? We could be developing a young talent, or why are we signing Rizzo? And it sort of felt like both teams were just doing it to do it, and that no one really wanted the other person. And then Rizzo decided that he wanted to play great baseball, and so his OPS plus so far this year is around 147, which is up from 110 last year. He's got, at the time of this recording, I'm pretty sure it's still 10 home runs through like 43 games compared to his 8 last year through his 49 with the Yankees. He's on pace to surpass his home run number by like the middle of the season. He's playing as well, if not better, than he has been over the past 3 years. And I don't think any Yankees fans expected that when they signed him and then saw what he had last year. And if you're a big show fan, he was like the April player of the month. Had a couple of great home run games. So it's great to see him playing well. I wish it wasn't for the Yankees because I don't really want the Yankees to do well, but it sort of is really cool to see Rizzo still balling when people thought he wouldn't be. So that's my biggest surprise. I think it's Anthony Rizzo.
I like that. I like that. My biggest surprise is that unlike Anthony Rizzo, not everyone is doing so well on the offensive side of the ball in the MLB. I got a few numbers that may be a few days outdated, uh, but the average hitter in the MLB this year is hitting 236, slugging 380 with a 687 OPS, and those are all down from last year by uh, about 40 points. And the average MLB team is hitting zero point 0.9 homers a game this season, which is down from 1.22 last season and 1.39 last season. And so, if you know what's happening, it's not a surprise that offense is down because clearly the baseball that is in play is not the same baseball that has been in play in recent seasons. Uh,
Mhm.
But what's is a surprise to me is that the MLB can get away with this sort of blatant tampering with the game from season to season and that it's kind of a open secret that everyone knows and sort of talks about, but no one really talks about it. Like, you'll go on Twitter or something and you'll see people talk about, oh, the new baseball, or oh, we want the old baseball back. But there's no big story about the fact that the MLB is just kind of messing with the game from year to year, that it's impacting stats, and which impacts players' contracts, impacts, how teams do, impacts how organizations build their teams. And I just think if this happened in any other sport, it would be like the NFL or the NBA. It would be a huge story, but
Mhm.
it sort of is happening, and no one really cares. That's my biggest surprise so far this season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think when you look at it, like anytime you tamper with the game, it's a big deal, and people were going nuts about James Harden doing like all his free throws 2 years ago. Like he was breaking the game. You have the leg kick debacle in the NBA, and then like if you want to get even specific to balls, like you look at Tom Brady and Deflategate, that great event in the NFL's history where they were just flipping their lids on that. At the fact that the MLB, I'm not a huge MLB guy, but the fact that they can do this and it's sort of obvious to everyone baffles me.
Yeah.
yeah. I think this is also a great lead into the next question, which is, should robo umps be implemented in the MLB? Um, let's go Ryan this time. You go first.
Okay. I'll go first. I'll be quick. I think no. Uh, Clearly, that the umps in the MLB this year have been widely, and not everyone, and not all the time, but overwhelmingly atrocious, like very bad. Uh, and it's been not only missing balls and strikes, but kind of some questionable ejections, some kind of power plays. It's been bizarre. The umps haven't always been the most accurate, but this season has been really, really bad. But I don't think that robo umps are the kind of neat and clean fix that everyone's, or some people seem to think that they are. I think even when you have, the strike zone is somewhat subjective as it is, and I think just because you throw, a robot, kind of digital strike zone or whatever in there, it's not gonna get rid of all debate. It's not gonna get rid of all controversy. And then also just on the human side of it, you're putting a lot of people out of a job by switching to robo umps, and some people may think that they might not be the best at their jobs, but it's still their jobs. And I think that robo umps will honestly create more controversy than they would solve. And so I think that there's better fixes to the problem than just going robo umps. And maybe I don't have those solutions, and maybe it just involves the umps just being better. But I think that that's a better. I don't think robo umps should be implemented at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also said no to this question, and I was an adamant no for like two main reasons. In addition to the fact that you're putting like 30, 40 people out of jobs, um, like I think when you look at baseball, like the human aspect of it is something that's always gonna happen, and like anytime you have a robot, the pitcher will just trick the robot to learn how to do it, and 2.5 years from now, we'll be thinking, why did we ever switch? Um, and like, if you want a fun follow on Twitter at Umpire Scorecards, I believe we follow them, but they're great. Just like looking at like what effect did an umpire actually have on a game, and for the most part, it's actually not too terribly bad. But as with a lot of things in the sports world, you really get the highlights and the lowlights on the news, and so you see all the bad stuff. And I'm not saying it's excusable. I'm just saying that there are some umps out there who are pretty good at their job. And then, like my final point against it, Ryan, you got something?
Yeah, sorry. Just like with the umpire scorecards, I saw one this morning that was, I believe it was the Guardians versus the Tigers. The guy missed one strike the whole
Yes,
game.
That's what I'm looking at. It's like the first thing, Doug Eddings. So congratulations, Doug. You're doing a great job.
Like it can be done. Like we've
Yeah.
seen, like following this account, like you've seen it.
hmm
Um, but
Yeah, it says he called 142 of 143 taking pitches correctly.
Yeah, I think you make
Zero.
a point,
Go.
Austin. I was just saying, I think you make a good point that when an ump makes a terrible missed call, you're going to see it all over social media, but you're not going to see it when an ump calls a good game or when an ump makes every call. Like,
Yeah.
so I think that the issue is maybe a little inflated.
Yeah, we all know who Angel Hernandez is. If you like, are like, I don't watch baseball. I know who that guy is. I have no idea who Doug Eddings is, but apparently, based on this scorecard, he's great at his job. But I, and I mean that's a larger topic for a later day about the issue with sports reporting that we have. But you look at that, and then you look at like the great issue of the shift, of banning the shift, and you have all these baseball traditionalists. I think one of my really good friends who is sort of 50-50 on the shift, like, if there are people who are upset that you're moving players on the field, do you really think no one will be upset that we now have robots calling strikes? Like, come on.
Yeah,
Just think about it for a second. It would be
I don't know.
very, but
I feel like I don't know what it is, but I just feel like there's got to be some kind of middle ground. I mean, I think it'd probably take too long, but maybe some kind of like review system of balls and strikes or something. But like, I mean, the review system now isn't very good either.
I feel like that's
So
that's balls and strikes review system is a slippery slope there.
yeah, I don't know.
Already
I
subjecting
just it's
things to
definitely an issue. Um, but yeah, let's go to the next question. Let's go a little NBA action here. Who has been the best player of the NBA playoffs so far?
I ain't it. Uh, it's Curry for me, Steph Curry. I think when you look at the Warriors and what they've done, playing some really tough teams, the Grizzlies, and just recently in the Mavericks, he's been like an emotional leader, a leader on the field, court. And I think that's one characteristic that doesn't show up necessarily on the stat sheet. It's just how big of an impact he has when he's on the floor. He's averaging like 25, 5, and 5 from the point guard spot. And I think that he's not he's not trying to do too much. He's not overdoing his role. He's simply facilitating, playmaking, putting the ball in the bucket. And at the end of the day, just getting the job done. And I think that like they're in the finals now for a reason. It's because of him. So Curry's been my best player in the NBA playoffs.
I'm gonna go with the player that Curry just beat in four and five. I would go Luka Doncic. Um, as much as it pains me to praise Luka Doncic, he's been the best player in this playoffs. Um, just like I think he's averaging like 32, 33 a game. Um, and just like carrying this Mavs team that is just not very good. Like they don't really have like the second best player is Brunson, and he's maybe a guy you want like third, fourth. Like if you just look at the Warriors, like I feel like you could make the argument that Andrew Wiggins is comparable to Brunson, and he's their fourth guy on offense. Like
Yeah,
it's just like they need to surround him with just more. I don't know what they're waiting on because like he's clearly a once in a generation type of talent, and yeah.
you got something to say, Austin?
Yeah, I think the Mavericks are in such a weird spot where Luka comes in and they start winning games right away. And normally when you have one of those like top three picks, you bring your guy in, you stink for another year, and you get another good prospect. And Luka came in, and then they were like the eighth seed in the playoffs. And like, I love that, but like, well, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Trade for somebody, sign somebody? I just
In
Well,
some
like
they
way,
got like Kristaps, and obviously that didn't work out. Like they just
Kristaps.
need to be smarter about it.
Do you know where Kristaps is playing right now?
Yes, I do, Washington,
Okay, cool. I didn't know where he's playing because he's not relevant anymore.
because it was the Spencer Dinwiddie trade.
Oh, that's true. And yeah, Dinwiddie turned out really well for the Mavericks.
I mean, he's
So
like fine. It's just like he's just not what they need.
yeah, they need
I just
more.
feel like they should be taking more care of this. Like it feels like they're just wasting it.
I mean, they got plenty of. Well, hopefully they have plenty of time with Luca. So, and hopefully they'll build around him a little better. I think the Mavs are an ambitious enough organization that it's safe to
Yeah,
assume.
like I don't doubt that they'll do something. I just think they need to do something.
Yeah, yeah.
it's Mark Cuban, for God's sake.
Yeah.
He'll just go out there and he'll buy the Nets and then trade Durant and Kyrie and all them over. He'll just buy the whole NBA. It'll be great.
All right. Here's our last question. Go
Uh,
to the.
uh, I'll give my player first.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
That's fun,
Ryan,
Ryan.
give us your player.
Um, I'll be I'll be quick. My
No
answer
worries.
was a little bit better when I came up with it a few days ago. The answer is Jimmy Butler for me, and I'm still sticking with that. Tempted to go Jason Tatum, but he's been a little bit up and down. And pre-injury, Jimmy Butler was just lights out. He was averaging like 28 points a game. He was shooting well. He decided all of a sudden that he can shoot threes, at least at a decent rate, which he could not in the regular season. And he, before his injury and before the last two games, he was at like a plus 136 plus minus. Now, the last two games have not been as good. Celtics have won both of those. But I think that even if you take into account those two games, Jimmy Butler has uh, pulled the Heat to where they were. And yes, they've had good performances from some other players. Bam had some good games. He's had some bad games. Tyler Hero and like Struess and Vincent have had good games and bad games, but Jimmy Butler has been like, besides the last two games when he's been injured, has been a consistent presence for the Heat, and they would not be where they were without him. He continuously shows up in the playoffs and shows that he is a big time player. He's someone who steps up and just does he doesn't always show up in the box score, the things that he does to help teams win. But this playoffs, he's been doing those things that don't show up in the box score and also showing up in the box score. And, they may be down uh, right now to the Celtics, but I think he may have something else to say tonight. We'll see. But I'm no fan of the Heat. I don't like the Heat, but I have to give Jimmy Butler his props. I think there's some people who like to say, "Oh, he's really good. He's not elite though," but he has shown this playoffs. And he's shown it before, honestly. But at this point, you have to give him credit. He is an elite player who can really help a team win games.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like the Heat, they have a lot of depth, but they didn't have a guy. Like everyone needs a guy.
And
Um,
you're looking at Twitter during the last game. I don't know if you saw Joel Embiid tweeted the Heat need another star, and that to me is just peak NBA, peak drama. And so Joel Embiid to the Heat, I want to see it. Like,
Oh man,
bring it on.
it's almost like Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler could have played together long term somewhere else in the NBA.
That would have been interesting
That
to
would have
see.
been really great.
That's
Huh?
who knows? Who
I
knows how
guess
that
we'll
could have
never
gone?
know.
yeah. All
Oh,
right. Well, let's go to our next question. NFL. Which NFL team had the best draft? I can start us off on this one. I'm gonna go with the Jets. Uh, I just really like what they did, especially with their first four picks. They got Sauce Gardner at 4, one of my favorite players and nicknames.
Hmm.
Um, and then I also really like. I mean, running backs are kind of a dying breed in the NFL, but I really like Brees Hall. Like, I think he can really be a difference maker for them, especially with Zach Wilson and just kind of the big question mark that he is right now. And then they also grabbed Garrett Wilson. I know Austin is a huge Garrett Wilson guy. Um, and they also got Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, who I believe they got him at 26, and he was mocked to go in the top 10, like up until draft night. So, um, four guys with incredible value, who I think will be immediate impact players for the Jets, for which is a team that obviously really needs impact players. So,
You
I'll go
go.
ahead. I'll say I have a few teams I wanted to highlight. The Jets were one of them. Everything you said, I really liked. Brees Hall pick I thought was great. Though, as someone with high stock in Michael Carter Jr. for some dynasty leagues, that kind of hurts a little bit. But I thought the Jets had a great draft. I thought the Falcons had a really good draft, which is kind of shocking to say as a Falcons fan. But I love the Drake London pick. I love getting Ebiketie in the second round. I thought they did well after that. Great day two picks. I think the Chiefs had a great draft. I think that Karloftis was a good pick. Sky Moore is a really interesting pick to replace Tyreek Hill. I'm excited to see what he can do with Patrick Mahomes. I think the Eagles had a really great draft. They were almost the team I went with because to get N'Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis and to trade for AJ Brown, they got a lot of big time impact players. And you'll hear a little bit more from me about the Eagles later on. But the team I think had the best draft, I'm going to go with the Ravens. I really like what they did. I thought a Jabba in the second round was a great pick. They got a lot of value. They had, I think, like four fourth round picks, and they got great value with them. Got some good offensive linemen. The Ravens always do a great job of just taking the best player on the board, which I think is, you know, the best draft strategy. Unless if you have glaring holes, go for it. But if the best player's there, take them because that's what you need in the NFL. Is you need the best players, and you build around those players. Don't pick players based on your roster. Make your roster based on the players you get. And I think that the best case of that was them taking Kyle Hamilton at 14, who was, for me, the best player of the draft and a future Hall of Famer and just an incredible prospect. And for them to jump on him when he fell to them was maybe easy, some would say, but 13 teams decided not to do it. And so props to the Ravens for doing that. And for that reason, they're my number one team in the draft.
Yeah. 12 teams actually, because the Giants had two picks in the
Okay.
top
My bad.
10.
My bad.
But if we're going to get real,
Jets did as well. So,
just
Okay.
sort
A number of teams passed on Kyle Hamilton.
of. So the Giants are actually my team that won the draft. I think when you look at the draft, they came out of it the best with Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, two guys who were mocked to go in the top, like honestly 1-2 in like late December. Um, they got him at 7-9. Didn't have to move for them. When you look at it last year, they traded down from 11 to 20 and got Tony. So that makes the Wandale Robinson pick in the third round a little weird because like the Wandale and Tony are almost the same player, and so it's really interesting that on a team that doesn't really need wide receiver with Galladay and Shepard and Slayton and Tony there, that they would address that position again, especially in the third round. But Wando's an electric player; he can make plays. So him on the back end of Neal and Thibodeau, and then when you look at it, one of my favorite teams of the draft is mainly because I'm an Indiana Hoosier, but he also tested really well at the combine. Was middle linebacker Mikey McFadden. If you watched any of the Indiana Cincinnati game when they played earlier in the year, Cincinnati was on their heels for pretty much the entire first quarter. and then McFadden got ejected for what I think was a bogus targeting call. And the game completely flipped, and you could see the effect that McFadden had on the field. And I think that pick will look back on and go, "Oh man, how did this guy fall here?" So for me, without a doubt, like I don't have a doubt in my mind. Other teams had great drafts. Jets had a great draft. Baltimore had a great draft. Atlanta had a great draft. I think the Jaguars had a terrible draft, personally. But I think the Giants definitely won the draft and had one of the top, if not the best, draft classes to fill their needs and everything in this one. So
That was a great
no,
breakdown, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know who was watching the Cincinnati Indiana game.
well, okay. At the
Certainly not.
time, at the time, Cincinnati was supposed to be good, and Indiana was also supposed to be good, and then it turned out that only one of those predictions was right. And I'll let you do your own research on which it was because we don't talk about last season. But right there, the McFadden's an impact player. He'll make an impact from day one. I'm excited to see him in the league. So I think the Giants win the draft without a doubt.
Before we move
Awesome. Well,
on here,
that.
I just
Oh,
want to say one thing. Breaking news in the sports world: the Lakers have hired Darvin Ham to be their head coach. And if you were paying attention, Darvin Ham,
big time Hawks guy.
assistant. If you're paying attention, do you know who was really pushing for the Lakers to hire Darvin Ham?
If you say LeBron James,
It
I'm
was
kicking.
LeBron James. So it has begun. Someone was listening to this podcast live, apparently. I
Why?
don't know, tapped into our computers, and they made the call.
At this point, why are they even hiring a head coach? Just let LeBron do it. Just let him do it.
Exactly.
Your words.
I'm more than my words. Like he's gonna complain about it halfway through the season. So whatever. Moving on, we're gonna get into my favorite segment, mainly because this week I get to ask all the questions, so it's fun to do some research. We're talking stat or cap, where we try and figure out if a question is true, if a stat is true stat or false cap. And it wouldn't be an Austin led stutter cap without a starting question about yours truly, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are in the Eastern Conference Final for the third year in a row. So here's your stat. The three players with the most points in the NHL playoffs since 2018 all play for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I'm gonna. I feel like that's stat.
I feel like if you're asking a lightning question that's flattering the lightning, it's going to be true. But you think I would think that, so it's not going to be true. But I would think that too, so it's true. It's stat.
It's like the poison scene in The Princess Bride.
Exactly. I can
Uh,
recite that scene from memory, by the
it's a
way.
great
We'll do
one.
that on another episode.
Yeah, that's actually cap, believe it or not. So, number one, Nikita Kucherov, and number three, Braden Point, do play for the Lightning, but in between them is Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins. So,
The rat.
the Rat. Um, Moving on, question two. Tonight, actually, they play, I think right now, the Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues. The Avalanche average 39.9 shots per game and in the playoffs this year. This number ranks them second all time in shots per game. Excuse me, in a single NHL playoff run.
Um, I think I'm gonna lean stat here. I haven't watched them play, but from what I understand of my limited Twitter NHL knowledge, they move fast and they take a lot of shots with Nathan McKinnon. So I'm gonna go stat.
So I'm going to clarify the question first. So are you telling us that they average 39.9?
I'm telling you that they average 39.9 shots.
Okay, well then I'm going stat. That's a lot of shots.
That is stat. It's
That's a lot of shots.
correct. The only one they're behind is one of the Gretzky-led Oiler runs a while ago. Number three, the Philadelphia Phillies' Zach Eflin had 12 strikeouts in Sunday, May 22nd's game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. 12 strikeouts, ranks in the top 3 most strikeouts by any pitcher in a single game this year. True or false?
12. 12's a lot of strikeouts. I'm
Top
gonna go.
3. That is a good question.
I'm just gonna go stat.
Real.
I feel stat on that one.
I'm just gonna fade you. I'm gonna go Cap.
Okay.
You shouldn't have faded, you should have tailed. Stat.
Mm.
It is top 3, only behind, I believe it's Kershaw and Eddie Lauer. Eric Lauer, sorry, who has
I had him in
13.
fantasy that night. FYI, it
He
was
did.
epic.
One you probably should have known.
This is one I hope you guys would get. The 2022 Battle for Alberta features 2 goalies, the top 2 goalies in saves per game since 2018 with a minimum of 20 games played. They are Mike Smith at 32.5 saves per game and Jacob Markstrom at 29.9. Statter cat.
I just have a feeling that it's stat.
All right. I'm thinking Vasilevsky comes to mind. I'm thinking about him. I'm still gonna go stat.
That one is stat. You're
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Number, I believe it's 5. Max Strus had a minus 30 in Game 4 of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. This minus 30 is the lowest plus minus number in a single playoff game this year.
Ooh,
Cap.
Ryan says cap. Ryan, what is
I'm
your
gonna go
thought?
stat. I'm gonna go stat.
This is the year of blowouts. Someone
It's
has
cap.
been.
It's
Yeah.
30 is not even in the top 10.
Yeah. There's no way.
That's embarrassing.
Number 1, it's Klay Thompson in Game 5 against Memphis when they lost by 1,000,000,000,000 points, and it was minus 45.
God.
So, crazy.
Definitely wasn't a game 6.
Yeah, no, it was not. All right. The Cardinals had 20 hits in their 18-4 win against the Pirates, also on Sunday, May 22nd. This 20 is ranked in the top 3 most hits by any MLB team in one game this season.
Cap.
I'm gonna go stat.
It's cap. It's 4.
I'm on fire right now, Ryan. I'm on fire.
Yeah, Ryan, you gotta step it up. All right, then we have 4 trivia questions, so get
Okay.
ready for these. Out of the 25 players with the highest points per game in the NBA regular season, how many made the conference finals?
That is a good one. Oh, that's tough.
Top 25 points per game.
Top 25 in points per game, how many made the conference finals? Bonus points if you can name them, but I don't expect you to name them.
I could probably name them after you tell me how many.
Um,
I'm gonna say 5. No. 4.
I'm gonna go 3.
It's 4.
No, I was gonna go 4.
Ryan, can you name them?
I'm gonna go Steph Curry and Luka Doncic for sure.
That's correct. Those
Jason
are 2
Tatum
of the
for
4.
sure.
Yep, 3 of the 4.
And then it's got to be either Butler or Poole. And I'm gonna say Poole.
Poole really only took off in the playoffs. It's Jaylen Brown.
Oh, I was between Brown too. Damn it. But I'll take 4. I'll take the
yeah.
4.
You'll love this one. I'm gonna give you 5 MLB players, and you have to tell me which one of them has the highest and then the lowest total bases per game. And it's only games where they had a registered plate appearance because Otani's on the list. Player 1, CJ Cron, Shohei Otani, Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado, and Pete Alonso.
So rank them like
I just need number 1, who on that list is the highest, has the most total bases per game, and who has the lowest total bases per game.
1, Machado. And 5. You said, wait, it's Crone.
Crone, Otani, Arenado, Machado, Alonso.
5. Oh, God.
Okay, I'm gonna go Machado and then Otani last.
That's what I'm going to.
So it's actually Crone first, then Machado, then Arenado, then Alonso, and then Otani.
Yeah, we did pretty well.
So you
Pretty
both
well.
got half of them right.
We did pretty well.
All
Crown
right,
love.
love Crone, great guy. There have been 5 3-home run games in the MLB this season, including 3 in the past 2 weeks, by Jack Peterson, Trevor Story, and Josh Rojas. How many 3-home run games were there all of last year? And these are all by a single player, not by a team.
Oh, God. Do I get a plus minus?
I'll give you a plus minus of 2.
Okay.
So that's 1 up, 1 down.
Right, yeah.
So you have to be within 1.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 8.
8? I'm totally
Yeah.
going to Prices Right you.
I was about to say, Ryan was totally waiting for you to answer that question. You just got completely suckered.
I mean, 7 or 9. What am I? Skip 9. I'm just going to say 12.
It's 14. So you were close. Unfortunately, your plus 1 gives you 13, not 14.
I'm fine with that. That was better than Ryan.
Yeah. So we're almost on pace, and we're just under a quarter of the way through the year. So, as final question, as mentioned earlier, Jakob Markstrom and Mike Smith rank in the top 3, rank the top 2 in saves per game. Andrei Vasilevsky also ranks in the top 5 in saves per game since 2018. Rank them by number of shutouts in the postseason during this period.
Okay, you don't have to say their names again for me.
Okay,
I know.
it's Mike Smith, Jacob Markstrom, Andrei Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky, Markstrom, Smith. 1 through 3.
I'm gonna flip Smith and Markstrom, and then that's.
It's Vasilevsky, Smith, Markstrom. Do you
Right,
know
yeah,
how many?
you got one. You got me one time. You got me one time.
Vasilevsky has 7, Smith has 3, Markstrom has 2.
Mm.
And that concludes this week's episode of Statter Cap. There's a little more here than on our Instagram, YouTube video, but go check that out while you're friends with your knowledge. See how much smarter you are than them. And I believe it's time for the good old-fashioned quick cues, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we're going to run through some quick questions very quick here. I'm going to pose 8 questions. We're going to go Ryan, then Austin, then me, and we're just going to go rapid fire answers and just run through them. First question is, who will win the 2022 NBA Finals? And give me your full who over who and how many prediction. Well, I guess who over the Warriors and how many. Who versus the Warriors and how many. There we go. I got it.
I'm going to go Warriors over the Celtics in 6.
I have Warriors over Heat in 6.
Celtics over Warriors in 6. All right. Sticking with the Celtics. Is Jason Tatum a top 10 NBA player?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now we're moving on to baseball. Are you in favor of banning the shift? Hot topic. Ryan, what do you say?
No, pitchers are just mad.
I'm
Get people out.
also against banning the shift.
I will say not ban, but I am in favor of maybe placing some limits on how extreme some of the shifts are, but not an outright ban. Sticking with baseball, who is your early AL and NL MVPs?
NL is kind of tough right now, but I would go Machado for NL. And then AL, I mean, I just got to stick with my boy Otani. I just don't think anyone's going to catch him.
Fair enough. Austin?
I have Aaron Judge in the AL right now. I think he's probably going to cool off towards the end of the year, and someone will overtake
He'll
him.
probably get hurt.
Yeah, probably something like that. And then I have Machado in the NL, but I think Nolan Arenado might make a late postseason push. Fingers crossed that he makes a run.
I'm gonna go AL. I have Judge so far, but I think Mike Trout might catch him. Trout's been hot. And then I'm gonna go NL. I think Manny Machado has been the MVP so far, but I'm gonna say that even without a UCL, that Bryce Harper might make a run for that award by season's end. Next, we're moving into hockey. Who will make the Stanley Cup Finals? You don't have to say who's going to win yet, but who's going to make the Stanley Cup Finals?
I like the Lightning in the East. I mean, they won it 2 years in a row, so why not? And then out of the West, I'd probably take the Avs. Yeah,
You know what? I lied. Tell me who's going to win also.
I'll go Lightning.
Okay.
I have the Lightning in 7 over the Oilers.
Okay. And I'm going to go shout out to my roommates from North Carolina. I'm going Canes versus Oilers. I don't like them that. I don't like my roommates that much. I'm going Oilers.
In how many? In how many?
6. Let's go to some football. Which NFL team is most likely to go from worst to first in their division, a la the Cincinnati Bengals, who I did pick to go worst to first last year. So let's see if I can go 2 for 2 here. Ryan, who you got?
I like the Broncos. I think just out of all the options, they're the most plausible. They added the most. I like them.
I have Baltimore. I think they were a good team last year. It's kind of a cheap answer because they were 3 games out of first, but I think that they have the talent to do it. Just need a couple of things to go their way.
Yeah, I'm also going to go the Broncos. I mean, Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos all made some crazy moves this offseason, but I think that the Broncos did the most to bump their stock, and they could even go all the way this year. Speaking of going all the way this year, what is your way too early Super Bowl prediction? So that means I want 2 teams, the winner, and a score.
Holy crap.
Ryan, you go. Sounds like Austin needs some time to think.
I got it.
I might need some time to think too. But okay, let's just do it off the cuff. I'm gonna go bold here. I really like the Chargers.
Love the Chargers.
They got to put it together, like at some point. So I feel like this is the year. Then in the, you know what? Let's go Chargers Rams LA Super Bowl, but not in LA.
I like it.
That
Score?
would be nuts.
Score?
The score?
Let's go 35 to 31. Herbert game-winning touchdown
I love that.
to Eckler.
Wow.
Prediction.
We're gonna come back to this later. I have Tampa and Buffalo there. Unfortunately, they're the
That
two
was a much smarter pick.
Unfortunately, they're like the 2 favorites to win it, but they're the 2 teams that I feel have the best chance. And I will take Buffalo over Tampa 35-27.
I like it. First of all, I just want to say Justin Herbert is him.
Is
It's
that
true.
dude?
I want to say so. My first draft of this was Bills over the Rams, but that's too easy. So I'm going Bills 31, Eagles 23.
Holy
Whoa.
crap.
Eagles putting it together. Jalen Hurts figuring it out or not, and they trade for a quarterback. But either way, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. You heard it here first.
Wow.
And now for our last quick question. Who is the most exciting player to watch in sports right now?
I gotta shout out my boy again. When Otani's pitching, he's must watch. Like now that he can hit while he pitches, like it's just must see TV.
I think one of the funniest players to watch is Fred Phillips, but he's not as entertaining as Luka Doncic is. I think Luka Doncic is must watch TV.
Okay. It's crazy that we've gotten this far into the show without me talking about European football. So I'm gonna go. I have to go with Kylian Mbappe. He is electric every time you turn the TV on and he's playing. His speed, his skill, and his shot is just incredible. And he's not only exciting because he's incredible to watch right now, but it's exciting to think about his future and what he can become if he reaches his full potential. And I can't wait to watch him at the World Cup this year. And
Yeah.
that concludes our quick questions.
Well,
All right,
well.
our next segment is one big thing where each of us will briefly bring up one thing, usually a story, that we just want to just share with our audience. Austin, you go first.
Yeah, I give you guys one guess what I'm about to talk about, and I bet you'd probably get it right.
Well,
And
I
then
would probably get it right because I had kind of have it in front of me, but yeah, go
you,
ahead.
you have it in front of. Oh yeah, you do. Minus the dominance that we've seen of Andre Vasilevsky in the playoffs this year, I think especially in the second round when you look at it, the Florida Panthers won the President's Trophy. They were the highest scoring team in the NHL. They only had 4 games where they scored one or fewer goals all year and never were shut out. And then they hit the playoffs and ran into Vasilevsky, and the Lightning swept the Panthers, won 4 games in a row, and gave up one goal only in one games 1, 2, and 3. So like almost a full total, and then Vasilevsky shut him out in game 4. So he equaled their total of one goal or fewer games over 82 games in 4 games, gave them their only shutout. And Vasilevsky just has that X factor where he can take over a series and just win it on his own. 6 of his 7 previous clinchers, which were all in a row, by the way. They've won 10 in a row, have been shutouts, and including Monday's 3-0 win over Florida. And he's faced 200 shots in those 7 games and only given up one goal. He had 30 plus saves in all 4 games the series against Florida. I think that, like, when we talk about players who, like, if you joke all the time about who's the best basketball player in the world, who's the best football player in the world, like, hockey is one of the rare sports from soccer too, where like there is truly a global market for it, and Andre Vasilevsky is the best hockey goalie in the world, without a doubt.
But would you say he is him?
He is him. He's that dude. He's got that dog in him. Whatever euphemism you want to use. I mean, he's the freaking big cat, so maybe not dog, but like he just when you look at the Lightning with Vasilevsky and without Vasilevsky, it's a noticeable difference. He's the best goalie in the world, one of the best players in the world, if not. So
Yeah, I have. I want to just change. I had one, and I'm going to change it. So shameless plug back to me and Austin's article at the beginning of the MLB season, which was our MLB best bets.
don't read it. We really
Yeah,
screwed
no,
up.
it's brutal. It's brutal. I would just like to bring up one of my predictions, and also Austin's prediction that it's just infuriating me. The Detroit Tigers suck. They're so bad. I thought they were going to be so good. They're currently 16-28. I mean, the Twins and White Sox aren't exactly running away with this division, so I mean, maybe they can figure it out, but like
I
I
don't
just don't
see.
get it. I just don't get it. I really thought they were going to be like putting it together, and they just aren't. Like their offense is really bad. Their pitching not good, and like yeah, I mean the Miguel Cabrera story was amazing, but that's the only highlight from the season because it's just been awful.
Scuba for them has been okay, but one pitcher's not gonna win you enough games to make national headlines or anything.
Yeah,
And he's been slightly above
I mean
average.
Michael Pineda has probably been their second best pitcher, and that man is
That says a lot.
well past his prime. And these days, he's kind of looking like Bartolo Colon. If you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Hey, now.
That's big sexy, man. That's a
Yeah.
compliment.
He's making a comeback too.
He's one of those words, and it's not sexy.
All right. I'll go ahead with my big thing for the week. Uh, once I started talking about European football, I'm not going to stop. So I'm going to go with the decision day for some of the title races this past weekend was electric. I'm going to start off with the Premier League. I'm a big Chelsea fan, so I was watching Chelsea's game, obviously, but I was also tuned in to a lot of other important games like Manchester City's game, Liverpool's game. I think everyone just assumed that City was going to win the title, and as the weeks went on, Liverpool got closer and closer, and it really became an electric finish with City saving themselves at the death. It was crazy to watch. I don't like either of those teams, but it was fun to watch them battle it out. They're both great teams, and there was even excitement, in the relegation battle with Leeds and Burnley. There was excitement in Manchester United almost fumbling the Europa League, which would have been terrible, even though the Europa League is not good for them either. So it was just a great day for the Premier League. And if you want to read more about, since we're plugging articles, if you want to read more about where some of the big six Premier League teams should go after this crazy decision day, you can check out my article on the Afternoon Analytics website. But the other big thing I want to say about decision day is that though I'm a big Chelsea fan, I also have a lot of love for the Rossoneri AC Milan. So props to them for winning their first title since 2011, and also for doing something hilarious to Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who was an AC Milan player for a few years. Uh, Last year, their bitter rivals Inter Milan won the title, the Scudetto, which had been in Juventus's possession for a decade. Çalhanoğlu leaves AC Milan to go to their crosstown rivals, which pissed off a lot of fans. He left for more money and to chase the title. And then AC Milan wins the title this year. So 2 years, two Milan titles, none for Çalhanoğlu. And that's just the way sports work sometimes. But as a Milan fan, I do find that funny.
Brutal.
It's brutal, yeah.
Also, read Ryan's article.
Read the
It's
article.
very good.
That's good.
Read every article. Go on the website and just read them all. Don't binge.
At afternoonanalytics.com. So
All right.
we got one more. Hear me out. We like to end everyone with just sort of a bold prediction or something that may not be bold, but just something that we want to see how well we know our sports and what predictions we can make that we can look back on and see if they're true. And so I'll start with mine that by this recording next week, which I think will probably be Friday, the Lightning and the Warriors will both have won at least 2 games in their respective series. So that's the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Warriors in the NBA championship.
Okay.
This is kind of a longer term prediction. But I'm a Tennessee hater. I'm gonna say it, and I don't think, even though they've been very, very dominant in this college baseball regular season, I don't think they're gonna win the World Series. I like. This is the University of Tennessee we're talking about. I'll see it when I'll believe
Nothing
it when I
good
see it.
happens to them.
What?
Nothing good ever happens to the
Exactly.
As it should be. As it should be. All right. Well, before I offer my big prediction, I just want to read this tweet that I just saw. You can tell me who you think wrote this tweet after I read it. So damn excited with a lot of exclamation points. Congrats and welcome, Coach D Ham. Clapping emojis. Hashtag Lake Show.
LeBron.
It's the GM.
What gave it? Yeah, I don't know what gave it away for me.
Hashtag
The emojis.
The
All
3
right.
exclamation points.
Noted emoji user LeBron James.
Yeah. He makes them work though. And then, but for my prediction, I didn't lie. I'm going to keep talking about football, and I have to because the Champions League final is tomorrow, so I can't not make a prediction about that. It'd be too easy to just pick the winner, so I'm going to go a little more in depth. I'm going to say Liverpool is going to win the game, and they're going to do it in dominant fashion and controlling fashion. They might not dominate on the scoreboard. It might be a 2-0, a 2-1 sort of thing, but they're going to control the pace of play. They're going to control the ball. They're going to look like the much better team, and they're going to win the game. But Mo Salah will not score a goal. So that's Liverpool to win, Liverpool to dominate on pace on the state of the game, and Mo Salah to not score a goal. So when he scores and Real Madrid wins 2-1 tomorrow, I'll look like an idiot. But that's just how I feel.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, I believe that will conclude this show here. So if you enjoyed it, you can follow us on Instagram at afternoon_analytics, on Twitter at analyticspast12, on TikTok at afternoonanalytics, and then also, of course, on our website at afternoonanalytics.com. On behalf of Ryan, and myself, until next time, this has been After Hours. We'll see you around.